Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Dave. Welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. And guess what? I don't have a guest today, unless you count me. This is a very special podcast. This is episode number 60. And I know, based on when episodes were released and all that kind of stuff, it might be less than a year, more than a year, but it being episode 60 of a weekly podcast, I decided I'm going to make this my 1-year anniversary podcast. And so what I wanted to do today, instead of bringing you a guest, and I don't know how long this is going to go, I may ramble. I've got notes, and I even have a newspaper I'm going to show you some stuff from. I don't know how long this is going to go today, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my streams of income and about the things I do here, because what I like to do with most of the podcast is either teach you business things, pass across business tidbits, news items, income opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And I love passing that kind of stuff along to you. But even more than that, I love meeting some new and interesting guests that I can bring to you so that you see what other people are doing with their lifestyles, doing with their streams of income, all those kinds of things. And so what I want to talk to you about today is my streams of income. Basically, I don't talk about my streams very much, unless it relates somehow to a story my guest is telling, or to some of the news tidbits that I'm bringing out to you. And so this time we're just going to talk about all the stuff I'm doing, and that way maybe you'll get some ideas. Maybe you'll hear some things that will make you say, "There's no way I want to do that," or "I can't do that where I live. My HOA would never allow it," or whatever. But I want to bring up some ideas, maybe get your brain juices working a little bit. And so I've got this page here where I kind of detail my streams of income, and I try to track percentage-wise how much they're bringing in, because I like doing the thing where if they're not profitable at all, maybe I need to ditch that one. It doesn't mean permanently, but maybe I need to ditch that stream of income for a while, or when the timing's better, or get rid of it altogether, because there are other things that will bring in more money, allow more time at home to do hobbies, spend time with family, allow me to do just things for me every now and then, hopefully. I mean, whether it's mountain biking or, I don't know, saving up to go on another mountain climbing trip. It's been so long since I've been on a mountain climbing adventure that maybe that's something I need to do more of. And, that'd be kind of cool, though, because I could tell you how to turn that into streams of income. A couple of my books are related to previous mountain climbing adventures. And so before, like I said, I knew I'd start rambling when I got to talking to you, because I have no script that I'm working from. And as usual, this is not edited. I'm not pulling out the ums and ahs and all the places where I cough or clear my throat or sneeze, because everybody's told me they kind of like the unedited stuff. They like it to not be perfectly polished. So let's just go down the list here. The many-headed beast that is Dr. David Powers. So streams of income, short-term rentals. That's one that I used to have an Airbnb at when I grew up in Myrtle Beach and lived there for a long time. I used to run an Airbnb out of my dad's warehouse. And so that eventually got shut down. That is no longer a stream of income that I'm running. It is something that I'm actively working toward here on the farm, building something where I can do more of a short-term rental that is Airbnb style. Now, with that said, we do have the hip campsite, several hip campsites here on the farm. Now, if you're not familiar with hip camp, it is basically Airbnb for tent sites, campers, things of that nature. There are some places on hip camp that you may also find on Airbnb, places where it's like an apartment or a fancy glamping tent, something like that. What I've got here, though, I've got a haunted barn out behind the house here. We've got one hip camp site inside the barn, which is actually it's in the iron barn area where my gym is. But we have a hip campsite in there that has air mattress, that kind of thing. And then we also have a bigger hip campsite that is under a barn patio where you would need to set up a tent. Or when the weather's nice, we've had people set up in there and just hang hammocks between the posts and the barn, and really enjoyed it. We're near Clemson University, and we've had some groups of people come, just wanted to go to the game, that kind of thing, and they didn't want to set up a tent because the weather was nice, and so they just went to the game, came back late, and stretched out in the hammocks for the evening, and they enjoyed it. We've had some people come though for the haunted stuff as well, and I even take people on haunted, scary hikes through the woods. And I've got an Aztec death whistle that I'll take with me. And if you've never heard an Aztec death whistle out in the woods at midnight when it's dark and there's no other sounds out there and it's really creepy and all the shadows look like monsters and skinwalkers trying to come after you, it's pretty enlightening. I think you would like it. So my hemp camp is currently the only thing I have that is an active short-term rental. But we're actively looking for more. I like doing that kind of thing. I like making interesting stays. All right, let's see. What is the next thing? Investing. I do still have a lot of investing that I do, and widely varied. Partly because of the Income Engine Academy that I run, and I'll mention that here in a minute as well. But I experiment with a lot of investing opportunities. Some of them I leave my money in there because it's doing okay or very well. It ranges depending on the investment. But I've got investments in fractional real estate. And so any of these things, if you hear this and you want to know more, there will be a bunch of links in the show notes. But what I like to do with, especially new folks, if you're hearing this for the first time and you don't know me, what I like to do is just lower budget brainstorming sessions. And so if you hear about any of these, want to know more about them, want to brainstorm these kind of things, ask me questions, that kind of thing, kind of like an Ask Me Anything session, those are available. Everything's in the show notes. But fractional real estate basically is where I don't actually own the entire real estate. I invest in a property. And so I don't know the other owners. I don't know the other investors. It's a website. There are several out there. Fundrise is one of them. And that's one that I've had some pretty good luck with. Fundrise and others like it, where I basically just invest a portion into a fund of properties or a particular property. There is one website where I invest only in Airbnb superhost properties. And so the investments allow the people that own it to actually make improvements, things like that. And so I enjoy that one. It's kind of fun looking at those. And I'm really looking forward one of these days to actually going and staying in one of the properties that I fractionally own. All right, so I've got investments in, let's see, I'm partially invested in James Pelton's YouTube channel through a site called Gigastar. I'm going to have to get my drink here in a minute. A website called Gigastar. I'm invested in a buddy of mine, his YouTube channel. And so as he monetizes, it's actually been monetized for a long time, but as he makes income from his YouTube channel, I make a portion of that being an investor. I'm invested heavily in crypto. Used to be invested even more or more widely in crypto, but now I have a lot of HODL coins that I do, and mainly just big coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, a few others that I like for some reason or another. Those are HODL, which means hold on for dear life. Basically, you just invest in it, you hold it. You don't even look at it that much. You hold it and then it goes up. And I'll be honest with you, I have made a lot of money, especially in Bitcoin, with that process. I also, with Bitcoin, I do a DCA, which is called dollar cost averaging, where I set up an auto draft and it just automatically, same time every month, buys a set amount of Bitcoin. I have that set up on a few other coins as well. And that way, when Bitcoin, if it's dropped, when that date hits, it buys it cheap. If it's up higher, it buys it higher. If it's in the middle, it buys it in the middle. It's called dollar cost averaging. And I have found that with my HODL coins, I come out better that way than trying to waste a lot of time in the market. That is not something I want to do. That's why, it's not necessarily a waste of time if you want to do it. I don't want to do it. That's not how I want to spend my time. And so I do the dollar cost averaging to allow me to put my time towards other projects. And so a lot of these investing ones, I consider these passive income. Now, passive income is a weird term, and people will argue all day long about it. For me, I kind of consider anything passive to be passive adjacent, meaning if it's something I can put a little bit of work into on the front end and just then turn it loose. to me, that's passive income. There really isn't anything that's truly passive where you put no work into it at all. I mean, even if you're investing, your IRAs, that kind of thing, you have to at least set it up. That's why I call it all passive adjacent, because I put a little bit of effort into it. I mean, even my books that I write. Some of my books I market heavily. Others, I just write or publish the books, and then I don't do anything else with them. I leave them out there on the various websites where I've published to, and they make money while I sleep, kind of thing. And so crypto, I'm invested heavily in that. The yield farming co-op, that is my single best, most passive income that I have out of everything. I'm part of the group, the Yield Farming Co-op, that's run by my buddy Chris Lovelace, and that's where most of my crypto investment is. And basically, if you want to find out more about that, definitely check him out. And I can give you a link for that if you want. Just get in touch, or I'll put it in the show notes. But I've got videos and things on that system, or on that group inside my Income Engine Academy. And so Chris is a good buddy of mine and has done amazing things. But yield farming is a way of using crypto where you actually make money as the middleman on the exchanges. As people buy or sell crypto, you make money on the gas fees or the exchanges. And there's a lot more to it than there. That is very, very simplified as an explanation, but it has done very well for me. And the great thing about it is I have watched Chris make money whether the market is up or down, because even if the market's down and Bitcoin is tanking for the moment, people are still selling it, or they're buying it because it's low, and you can make money on those exchanges, not just on the coin itself. And so that is one that I definitely recommend everybody get into as part of their portfolio. Once again, though, none of this is, don't count this as investment advice. I'm just telling you what I do. And I only recommend it because I like it. I enjoyed it. It's worked for me. But I also recommend anything with crypto and investments that you don't fully understand or want to dig into and do the work yourself. Do it with play money until you can draw that out and you're working with house money. All right, let's see. That's miscellaneous investments, crypto, real estate, eBay. I still sell a few items on eBay. I used to sell a ton of stuff on eBay, and I had a ton of listings, but I've got this, I've set some rules for myself. Because eBay wasn't bringing in as much money as it was worth the time trying to get good photos and write awesome descriptions, things like that. So on eBay, for the most part, I sell things that I can make more money on. And either that, or I sell a lot of comic books because those are really easy for me to list and something that I know a lot about, so I don't have to research it very much. And so generally, I won't sell anything on eBay unless it's worth quite a bit of money, or I'm making double or triple what I bought it for. Sometimes, like just the other day, me and my wife were at some estate sales, and we picked up a few items that we're going to resell, mainly because, like say for instance, we bought. I'm not even sure what it is. It's like a mixer for guitar, like the thing you use to pedal with when you're playing guitar. And we bought it for $30. No, I think around 35. We bought it for close to $35. She's going to list it for around 100, and so that's worth the money for one item like that. And so generally, that's how I do eBay. So I make a few bucks off eBay every month. Merch. I sell merch in a lot of places, and I'm not talking collectibles like on eBay. I'm talking where I sell print-on-demand T-shirts, print-on-demand mugs. Basically, I'll come up with a design, or it'll be a logo from one of my businesses, something like that. And there are there are dozens and dozens of websites where I have things listed, and it's really easy to do as part of one of my passive adjacent streams of income, because I'll come up with this design for another reason. Maybe say it's the cover of a book I'm working on, or the logo for a book I'm working on, and it's pretty cool. People like it, and so I will list that in another place as a T-shirt. And so, here's a good example. The T-shirt you're seeing, if you're watching the video right now, is my logo for Rugged Dad. It's me riding a bear, and I've got stickers and everything. Matter of fact, I'm filming this on my laptop right now, and so on the other side of the laptop, I put a big sticker of that logo, and that way, when I'm in the coffee shop, someplace like that, and the laptop is open, people see my logo. And the website's on there as well. So every now and then I'll have people walk up and ask me about it. But on the back of the shirt is my website. And so that way, I wanted to do it that way so that if people a lot of times people won't talk to you. I try to be very approachable when I'm in the coffee shop, and I'll just randomly talk to people just to introduce myself and ask them what they're doing because I'm always just curious. But I also like to display my logos and things like that, where if they want to check it out on the slide and look up the website or something later, that's fine. Some people put QR codes on the back of their t-shirts, stuff like that, where people can just take a picture of the QR code without me even knowing it. And so people will do that, and they'll check you out that way sometimes. I even have this logo on the side of our van, our big Ford Transit van that I call the homeschool bus. And a lot of people at church, other places like that, recognize it very easily. And matter of fact, we were at lunch the other day at a restaurant, and somebody had seen our van and came in to say hello. And so merch is one of those places where I make a little bit of money just by, it's the notion of create something once and sell it a million times. And so I create a logo for one reason and then sell it a million more times in a million more places. And with that, I list things on like Etsy, Printful, I think. I just opened up a Printful account that connects straight to my Shopify store. And so that's pretty cool. And since I mentioned Shopify, let's go ahead and talk about that. I do have a Shopify store where, I've got stuff listed all over on these other websites where people can print on demand my graphics and things like that. But I also have a Shopify store where I kind of centralize pretty much everything I do in different areas of the store. That way I have another avenue, and that's the website I'll send out. I won't send out the website to that print-on-demand place. I'll send out the website to my Shopify store, and they can link, they'll see the t-shirts and things in there, and then that'll take them straight to the print-on-demand place. And so it's just another avenue where I can kind of put the things out there. All right, let's see. Amazon. As far as Amazon products, one of the things I started out doing years and years ago is I used to sell books and comics and things like that on Amazon. That's how Amazon started out. I've been selling used books and things of that nature. And it's gotten really hard to do that. I actually closed that section of my streams of income down completely. I shut it down. Got rid of a ton of stuff that I had listed on Amazon, and either I moved it onto eBay or I got rid of it completely. Sold it in bulk on eBay, sent it to the thrift store, gave it away, things like that. It's just like, say, for instance, I wanted to sell a Spider-Man comic. That's Marvel Comics. And I'm not sure if they were the ones that did this. I just quit it altogether because others did. But say, for instance, with my example, I want to sell a Spider-Man comic. I try to list it on Amazon, and at that point, I would have to jump through a bunch of hoops showing where I bought these things wholesale from the manufacturer and have Marvel Comics permission to sell this comic book on Amazon. And basically the publishers made it almost impossible for a lot of people, unless you're larger and buying in bulk and willing to jump through the hoops and have that time, or the employees, they made it impossible for normal people to list collectibles on Amazon. You can still find collectibles on Amazon, but a lot of people like me just dropped out completely. I don't know if anybody out there goes to the flea market. I'm going to use this as an example. So if you go to the flea markets, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, you may not. All right, so years and years ago, flea markets used to be a place where you could go and people were selling their junk, their used stuff, their collectibles. You would find booths that it was somebody that was having a moving sale. So instead of having a garage sale at their house, they would bring everything to the flea market, get a table, and sell it all. I've done that before to make money. You'd have other people that basically operated a mobile antique store. And so you'd find this booth at a flea market, and it's basically antiques and collectibles and things like that. And you can find some real gems there because flea markets tend to sell things cheaper than you'd find in a store, an antique store, places like that, because they want to get rid of it. They don't want to have to pack it back up. They also don't have the overhead of a brick and mortar store. And so, flea markets were pretty cool places to go because you never knew what you were going to find. It was always different. And then all of a sudden things switched. Flea markets moved to the point where people were just buying wholesale stuff. It was like you go to the flea market and it's just a bunch of new crap. It's the same stuff you'd find at Walmart, Dollar Tree, Harbor Freight, all these other stores, and maybe a little bit cheaper, often not cheaper. And you'd find, the guy that has a booth just selling like out-of-date food and stuff like that. And so flea markets gradually made a switch to where they used to be used and fun and collectible stuff, and they just turned into new crap. And that's kind of what Amazon has done now. Yes, you can go on Amazon and still buy things from the manufacturer. It's still the first place I go, often before I'll go to the manufacturer's website. But now you're finding a lot of counterfeit and Chinese crap on Amazon. And so they've also pushed people like me out of the collectible market selling there. And so I shut down that part of my streams of income. Let's see, moving down my list here. Speaking and training. I don't do as much of this as I used to. Like most people that weren't full-time public speakers, I used to speak a lot before COVID. Used to do a lot of conferences. I would do several conferences a year speaking. And I would go and I would do breakout sessions, those usually an hour. I would do pre-conference stuff. Sometimes that would last 8 hours, educational sessions that were pre-conference. Because I would speak at a lot of EMS, law enforcement, fire department conferences, things like that, because that's where most of my background is. And so I would do pre-conference for 8 hours or breakout sessions or a keynote. Always loved doing the keynotes because the entire conference is there, there at one time in one place. You can do book signings with those. They pay a lot more. And so, but I wasn't a full-time speaker. I only did it as one of my smaller streams of income. And so when COVID hit, I just kind of quit pushing it. And so that hasn't bounced back for me to where it used to be. It's also something I've not pushed much. So I do it a little bit every now and then. Like say, I just booked one about an hour from me mid-October. And so, I do it every now and then. I'll go to a conference every now and then. To be honest with you, some of that I don't miss. But I always enjoy the trips. Basically, I would take, if it was somewhere I could drive, I would always drive. And that way I'd take one of the kids with me and we would just enjoy a nice road trip that was paid for by the speaking engagement. And so speaking, training, I've also done a lot of training, probably more training than speaking, where people would actually hire me to train specific skills and things like that. All right, there's a thing on my sheet here called C3, and I call that my coaching, counseling, consulting. And so that is, by and large, my biggest stream of income. There's also a lot I lump into that, but coaching, and I kind of consider my Income Engine Academy membership part of that because I present a lot of content in there, but coaching is a part of it. And so by coaching, you know what I mean, or you may not. You've probably heard a lot of people use that term, life coaching, where people call me up and want me to help. I specialize in small business stuff. And by that, helping mom and dad entrepreneurs get away from their W-2 jobs, and so they could spend more time at home, more time with the family, without just constantly increasing the number of part-time jobs they do or working themselves to death, and then realizing, oh my goodness, my kids are 18 and out of the house, and I missed every bit of it. That's what I help people do, especially inside the Income Engine Academy. I do private coaching outside of that, but that's the coaching side of what I do. Consulting, I kind of consider that more when I work with businesses. Most of all, I love working with moms and dads because I can see instant and immediate family change with that. Consulting, I'll work with their businesses, so to speak. I grew up in a third generation construction business. And so for a long time, most of my consulting focused on small family owned construction businesses. And so I would help them with everything from marketing to revamping to, passing it down to a new generation, creating content, setting up websites, things like that. And that was just kind of a passion thing because that's the way I grew up, helping my dad with his business for decades. And so that's the consulting side of thing. Counseling, I don't really do that much anymore. I used to do counseling every now and then. That's what my degree is in. But if you know me well, you know that I don't really have the personality of a typical counselor. Definitely more of a coach personality. But with counseling, I mean, I've done weddings, funerals, preaching in churches, doing premarital counseling. I've had people come to me just for, regular counseling, that kind of thing. That's more of a case-by-case basis. People will come to me for that kind of thing, but that is not where my strength lies, and definitely not a mainstream of income. But I still refer to all that as C3. All right, content. And so content is one of my oldest and most reliable streams of income. I love writing. I love putting ideas out there. I love publishing. And so I publish a lot of books. I publish a lot of material, a lot of information. I consider this podcast to be a form of publishing. And so, I do list on places, the obvious ones, like Amazon, Teachers Pay Teachers, Etsy, Fiverr. Publish a lot of content to those places. And I published so much that I started my own publishing company called Pressure Tested Publishing. And pressuretested.com is where I host that. And so I use that as one of the places to list all of my books that I publish, but also I've published books for other people. Actually, I think I've published more for other people than I have my own stuff. And so I just love the idea of putting good information out there, fun stuff that makes people think or just enjoy reading it. I've got some redneck horror stories on there published for somebody. Published another one called the Desert Rat Scrapbook. That was an old set of newsletters that were published out west, full of comedy and Western humor, things like that. But that was originally published in the 40s and 50s, and I got the rights to those and republished them for the author's son. And so that's a lot of fun. That was what I enjoyed doing. And so that's all out there listed. That's content. Like I said, the Income Engine Academy, there's a lot of content in there and lessons, things like that I publish to help show people extra income opportunities and teach them how to do it. That's like middle cost as far as my membership. I've got a low cost membership I call the Tip Sheet. And so it's a low cost, kind of a DIY income opportunity tip sheet where every month I publish a list of income opportunities. That way people can check them out. And then, they could always engage me for a brainstorming session or upgrade their membership to the Income Engine Academy, where I don't just mention the opportunities, I actually have lessons and videos and engage with other experts to teach you how to make the most money in those opportunities. And so that's content. Let's see, acting. That's a fairly large stream of income that I do. I've been in a couple of movies. Just a couple of months ago, finished wrapping a TV show that should come out next year on Amazon Prime, where I'm actually doing acting, just like you'd think, like you see on TV all the time, on Netflix and everything else. And so, and when that comes out, and I can tell you more about it, I will put all that out there. I'll probably try to do some podcasts with some of the other actors and possibly directors, that kind of thing. But I really enjoy acting. It's not something I ever want to pursue in terms of like, oh, I'm going to take acting lessons and voice lessons and I want to be an A-list star in a movie. I enjoy doing what are called featured roles, where I'm in it just enough that you recognize me and I get to have a little fun, but I don't want to be the A-list person. I just don't want to. I mean, there are aspects of that would be fun, but that's not what I want to do. My goal was to be like, in the credits, you might see me credited as, Outlaw Biker number 3 or something like that. And so that's the kind of, I just enjoy doing. And the pay isn't that bad. I do some of it just for the enjoyment. The pay is not bad. And so that's one aspect of acting that I do. Another aspect, so when I say I've been in a couple of movies and a couple of TV shows, another aspect of acting that I do is commercials. I've done, at this point, over 1,000 video commercials for different clients. I do a lot of UGC videos, they're called user-generated content. So if you scroll on social media or YouTube, or I've even had people tell me they saw my commercials on Tubi and other places like that. And so I'll have clients get in touch with me, and let's say they have a product to sell. Like one of my biggest ones is a guy that sells tactical gear, holsters, tactical bags, tactical belts. I mean, ink pens that can be used as weapons. I mean, all kinds of tactical gear. He is one of my biggest clients. And so he'll send me some holsters and say, hey, I need you to shoot some videos. He'll send me stuff and send me a script. Basically, that's all there is to it. One of the great things he likes about me is that I own property here where I can go out and shoot my weapon on the property. And so I'll do live fire videos, actually drawing from the holster and doing some live fire, demonstrating his holster with a live fire thing. He actually sent me a bag here a while back that is meant to be a concealed carry bag. And so you can use it as like a shoulder bag, or you can keep it in the front chest area. And so I actually shot a bunch of videos for him drawing and shooting through the bag. And so just to save time, especially, depending on what you're wearing, or a lady's purse, that kind of thing. I didn't do a purse, but I did the bag. But without even having to draw, just getting your hand on that weapon, angling the bag, and firing through the bag. And so that's an example of a commercial I've done. I've done all kinds of stuff, though: food, kitchen knives, clothing, mattresses. Every bed in this house has a brand new mattress on it because for a while I had a contract with a mattress manufacturer. And so they would send me these new mattresses to do videos with. And not only does every bed in the house have a mattress, I think in the storage room upstairs, there are actually 2 new mattresses that we're just holding on to them because mattresses are expensive. And so I did the videos, I keep the product. And so that's a stream of income, UGC and commercial videos. And like I said, I've done easily over 1,000. I don't know the exact number. Oh, that reminds me, if we're talking numbers as far as publishing, between all the books that I've published, I keep track of it, but I don't know the exact number right now, but I know that I have published over 15,000 books. And that may not sound like a lot to you. It may sound like a lot to you. I don't know. But just in terms of bestsellers and what books you see at Barnes & Noble, places like that, the numbers that sell, that's a huge number. I've sold over 14,000 copies of my books. And that's pretty huge. Big number for me. And over 1,000 commercials. Let's see. Oh, this is a big thing that deals with the commercial videos, though. I track the products that are sent to me. And I treat that as income. So in other words, if they send me a $3,000 mattress, I keep all the product. I don't work with any clients that want me to send the product back because that's one of the perks for me. And so incidentally enough, I also get higher dollar clients. And I'm talking clients that have sent me, jewelry, all kinds of things, furniture. I mean, some stuff that it's not cheap stuff for them to send or ship, but I keep it. And so I track the product. And that's also for me, that figures into my numbers in income. So if you're talking a dozen mattresses and they're worth X amount of dollars, that's a lot of money coming in. And so let me look at this. Trade for points, or not trade for, I'm getting confused here. I'm looking at my thing, but point hacking. This, I kind of got that term from my buddy Chris Guillebeau, who wrote The Art of Nonconformity. And he used to be the guy that did the World Domination Summit, which I had an amazing load of fun at and made some incredible friends when he was doing that. But point hacking, he got me into point hacking and travel hacking. And so basically, it's a way of using reward points, reward accounts, credit cards, things like that to generate points. And so in other words, and you got to be careful with this one. A lot of people use this one and then rack up credit card balances and they owe more in interest than they're getting in points. That's not the way to do it. That's negative income. But if you do point hacking properly, like say for instance, me and my wife use an Amazon credit card. It's a Visa, but it's an Amazon Visa. And so basically almost everything we buy is bought with that Amazon credit card. So we're buying this stuff anyway. You get more points buying the stuff on Amazon with an Amazon credit card, so you get like double the points. And so every so often, I'll go on there to buy groceries or, printer ink. There's a bunch of printer ink sitting over there on my other desk. And so I'll look up and like, oh, okay, I've got $300 in points right now because of things I've purchased previously. So I don't even have to pay anything for this ink. I've generated points. Well, I track that, and that's for me, that's a stream of income. That way, the things I'm buying anyway make income for me in a way. All right, so some other streams. My kids, every week when I do bills, my kids take my receipts and they log on to half a dozen websites and they take pictures of the receipts and send those in, and we get points and gift cards from that. That's a source of income. Let's see, I'm looking at my list here. VA disability, this is one that, of course, not everybody's going to be eligible for, but if you are, VA disability, in other words, tax-free disability income from injuries sustained while you're in military service. And so that's a source of income, kind of a small one because I have a low rating for my disability, but that is a small source of income. And that's it for my list here. I'm actually looking around trying to think of some others. I don't have everything listed here, but we've got a small farm where we grow things. Up on the upper portion, I'm in my office basement right now, or basement office right now. But upstairs, we've got a bunch of birds that are going to be producing eggs soon. And so, of course, if they overproduce more than we can eat, we'll sell the eggs. We've actually got guineas. We didn't do chickens or ducks or turkeys. We bought a bunch of guineas. And interestingly enough, guineas have some unique attributes. Here in South Carolina, they will eat fire ants. And so if we position the chicken tractor over a fire ant bed, they'll eat the fire ants for us. They love them. They also eat ticks. And they produce eggs, though, that are slightly smaller than chicken eggs, but despite being smaller, they have more protein than a chicken egg. And so not many people raise guineas. And so we're niching a little bit with that. And that way, if we do sell the eggs, they'll be worth a little bit more. My wife every now and then mentions that she wants a water buffalo. And I don't know if we'll ever get one. It would be pretty cool, though, because not many people have water buffaloes. But if you milk a water buffalo, which to me sounds like a daunting task, but if you milk a water buffalo milk is worth about $40 a gallon. And so that might end up being a stream of income someday. And so I tell you what, I'm gonna, I had that newspaper out. I think we've probably gone long enough. That's all the streams of income I can think of at the moment. Oh, you know what? I do have one more I want to mention. No, two more. I just thought of two more. Okay, so before I forget, debt reduction. And so I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. I don't totally do all the Dave Ramsey stuff. Dave Ramsey adjacent is the way I think it. But reducing debt, I look at that as a side hustle. Right now, we don't owe anything except for the house. And so we're good right now, but we were at the area where we were in credit card debt, student loan debt. We had all the stuff, car loans, student loans, credit card loans, everything. We had all the stuff like most people do. And so reducing debt, not paying as much interest to somebody else is a way of making money, because the less of that you pay to somebody else, the more money you have to put into streams of income, to put into investments, to put into things like that, to save and make your own interest instead of paying interest. And so that's a stream of income. My alarm's going off. I have to wrap this up real quick. All right, last one. Saving money on your taxes. I've got a whole series of podcasts on saving money on your taxes, so watch those. I am not a tax professional, though, but I will tell you that to me, not paying more than you have to in taxes is a side hustle all on its own, because you're not giving up all that money. And so I will say this, you need to pay all the taxes that you legally owe. And in saying that, there are so many ways to save money on your taxes, to get tax credits, to get tax deductions, all that kind of stuff that is fully and totally legal. I promise. If you are working in a W-2 job, it's one of the reasons I try to get people out of those. If you work W-2, you are definitely paying more in taxes than you should be, than you need to. You need to start a business. Even if you're still working the W-2 job, buy some real estate. There are ways you can take tax advantages of that will offset your W-2 taxes. So many things you can do. And so I'll say that just to maybe whet your appetite, make you want to go back and listen to the other podcasts, or call me up and I'll give you some references to some books that I read and people that I follow to get information about that. But I hope you've enjoyed this. This is my anniversary podcast, and probably that's what I'll plan on doing for each one of these anniversaries soon. As the years go by and as I'm doing this podcast, is I'll give you an update on my streams of income. And so I will close it out by saying this, by listing for you my top 3 streams of income, money-wise. Might not be the best for you. It might not be what works the most for you, but my top 3 are acting, commercial acting, UGC videos. That's number 1. Number 2 is content, mostly on Amazon, but just content creation. And number 3 is the content side of things, where I have my membership, which is the tip sheet and the Income Engine Academy. That's my number 3. And those aren't even in order number-wise, but that's my top 3 categories. So if you have any questions, you can throw them in the comments or get in touch. All my info is in the show notes. And I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it maybe gave you some ideas. That's the main thing. I love giving people ideas. So be sure to get back to me with your success stories, especially if you have a story and you want to hop on the podcast and tell your story. And so we'll talk to you later, and I will see you next week on the next podcast.